Amazon only plays on the infrastructure layer, which is trying to give people raw material to build their applications. And with that, they have a commanding market share, over 40% of the market. And in fact, they have maintained that for a while, which is surprising because Microsoft has been gaining share on it for a very long period of time, but from smaller players. And also the market's growing very much. So Amazon's currently at revenue of over $100 billion in this market. But overall tech spending is north of $2 trillion, frankly. So there's a lot of room to grow for everybody, not just Amazon, but Amazon, Microsoft, Google, even Oracle. All of them will grow in this market.
So if we take a look at the different layers of how AI kind of plays into cloud, the one area where Amazon maybe isn't getting as much market share, and maybe they're still developing that, is the consumer-facing side. What can they do there? What is their growth opportunity there?
Yeah, they have a lot of, I would say some apps that are working on it, but really the reason why Microsoft is ahead right now in that game is because of OpenAI. They have a partnership with OpenAI, and they run OpenAI's backend, which is when you do a search on ChatGPT, Microsoft is running those searches in the background, or the application runs on it, which is why Microsoft is getting the benefit of it. For AWS, the big benefit is going to come from companies or big corporations when they go out and build their AI applications. There's a high likelihood they're going to choose AWS as much as they're going to choose Microsoft or Google, and that's really what Amazon's betting on.
So you mentioned the margins, high margins at AWS. Can they maintain those margins? What are the risks for those margins?
Yeah, I don't think they can maintain them, only because they have to spend a fair amount of money in order to reduce, in order to fulfill the demand, expanding in data centers, buying new hardware, buying chips. So I'd be very surprised if we see that number again for a very long period of time. And frankly speaking, I'll be happy with a 30% margin for the next several years while they make sure that they're doing the right investments to drive double-digit growth rate on their top line.
Let's talk about those investments. So they said they're going to, quote, meaningfully step up their CapEx to pay for all this AI infrastructure, but there was no number given. When Meta said that, the market didn't like it. What was the pass here that Amazon got?
Yeah, but Amazon's basically showcasing that they actually have been doing this successfully in terms of expanding data centers based on the capacity. So before going in, they had close to $15 billion yesterday in the first quarter in terms of capex, and it's going to go up over the next quarter. So we think it's going to be north of $65 billion at this point for all of Amazon, with most of it going to AWS. But there's a reason for it. They are getting contracts to fulfill cloud demand, or they need to be able to expand that to fulfill that massive cloud demand.
Anurag, you know what I did not see yesterday in the release? A dividend. What's up with that? They got like $60 to $80 billion of free cash flow.
Yeah, again, they're going to spend that $65 billion next year on capex also. So I'm okay with not having a dividend for a while. I would rather.
But you're a tech analyst. You guys think that if you put out a dividend, it signals that you're no longer a growth story.
Yeah, it's a kiss of death. I'm not a big fan of it.
It's not. Microsoft, Google, Apple, they disagree with you.
Yeah, IBM kind of agrees with me at this point on that. But
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so look at IBM. They have a massive dividend yield. I would rather they take that money and buy a bunch of new HashiCorp kind of companies that are growing at 15 to 20%. That will change the face of the company, make them even more relevant in the tech space than they are right now. So I'm always in that camp that when you are a tech company, you gotta constantly reinvent yourself. Otherwise, somebody will come and eat your lunch.
Anurag and I, we just fundamentally disagree on this. We agree to disagree. We go to our separate corners.
Can I ask a dumb question for the two of you then? Is there room for both of you to be right? Can these tech companies throw off enough cash that they can reinvest in a healthy way and also pay a dividend?
Yes.
Anurag?
Yes, absolutely, Alex. I completely agree with that. Because what happens is if you give a very small token dividend, it opens the doors to a lot of institutional investors that are bound by their charter to only invest in companies that pay a dividend. So there is a logical reason to do it, but I'm okay with Amazon's going to take a year or 2 years to get to that path.